G'day. We are starting off with Quid promo from the lovely, most delectable of fellas, Sean and Nathan from the Petri Dish podcast. If you enjoy our dynamic of a very, very learned friend and lover, and you have someone that's just very sexual on the side, then you're definitely going to enjoy their podcast. We say that we're not family friendly, but we do love our daddies. Sean and Nathan love brothers. They are also brothers. Take the promo away.
Ich bin ein
Science!
Cannabinoids, genetics, coronavirus,
Dogs!
This is Petri Dish.
Science!
We're a science podcast exploring complex subjects with clarity and evil humor.
Join the scientific revolution.
Join Petri Dish, dropping every Monday on anchor.fm/Petri Dish.
Howdy, friends and lovers. Welcome back to the For You Reference podcast. You got your host, Katie.
And Oti.
And grab your practice peaches and limited edition mint condition hats because we've been invited to the pony show.
Throw some couscous on it.
Yes, bring along the couscous because this week we are covering the sketch show, Key and Peele. And this is Prima Noctis territory, OT. This is the first time that we've covered a sketch show on the For You Reference podcast.
It is.
So I guess maybe some graces for us on however this discussion goes. You know, we talk about like South Park, for example, has like 17, 18, maybe even 20 seasons, and we wonder how we would even be able to discuss that in a format. But if you have been a purveyor of the For You Reference household, more often than not, we will make a Key and Peele reference. I'm pretty sure we just did it in the Perry Mason episode, and how that relates, I guess you'll see. But we definitely wanted to lay out accolades to Key and Peele and everything that the show was. Obviously, we're going to get into the stats. This isn't the first time that we've covered Jordan Peele. Obviously, I think our first episode was Get Out, that we had a Jordan Peele. And then we also covered Us as well. So the creators, we had Jordan Peele, Keegan-Michael Key. It ran from 2012 to 2015 on the Comedy Channel. And it was a delicious time. Key and Peele won a Peabody Award, 2 Primetime Emmys, and then been nominated for various other categories. Obviously, there are sketches we're going to talk about, but one of the highlights was Keegan-Michael Key playing Luther as a translator for the official Obama.
The official Obama. Yeah.
The official, not the OT Obama. One of these days, maybe. So we wondered how we would cover it in this sort of format. But let's get into first impressions. It might be cute for us to just talk about our specific favorite sketches. And then we'll just, dive in, slap ass all the way through the sketches. So let's talk about first impressions, OT. So Key and Peele, both of them, it's kind of like a spiritual sort of spin-off because they were on Mad TV as well. They're not new to improv or comedy. So I guess feel free to give any sort of inklings of whether you came across these fellas before and just how you felt generally about Key and Peele. And I guess even another point would be, does it still stand the test of time?
Cool. I came across some of this stuff, like the super popular skits on YouTube. And I really didn't think too much about them. Like, I didn't try to consume and see, oh, these guys are funny. Let me try and see where this was from. Didn't really bother until Katie came into the picture and she was going on about Key and Peele. She made us watch it. And it was one of those experiences where it's been such a long time since I watched a sketch show. I think one of the last ones was the Chappelle Show, and that was such a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of patience. And I think the first season I was like, I was dragging my feet. But after staying through it, and I just came to love them. I came to love what they do. We've rewatched it again, I think, quite recently on Stan.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Well, I guess the interesting thing is, and because we've never done a sketch show, I'm going to, just highlight it here. Sketch shows in general, the highs are the highest of highs, and the lows are very, very low. And I guess, even the best sort of sketch shows still have, misses among the hits. Right. And obviously Key and Peele wasn't immune to that. But then again, I guess it is subjective, and we'll talk about our sketches and why we find them particularly funny. But I guess sketch shows in general, for me, I'm not expecting to be wowed every time I watch a sketch, because I think you're setting yourself up for failure. Whether that's going to be a formula that people can adopt and thrive in, I just don't expect, like with SNL, for example, most recently with a Black Lady sketch show, also Astronomy Club. There are some very, very strong sketches that deserve a lot of our attention. And then there are some sketches that, they feel like, if I may reference Kelly Rowland, the seat filler. Some of them are sketch fillers, if you'll pardon the pun. So in that sort of sense, I am quite forgiving, which is very surprising because I'm not very forgiving when we watch shit. But usually when it comes to sketches, I'm very forgiving. In the lead up to this episode, instead of watching full episodes, we kind of just watched the sketches that we wanted to watch. And I think that's the most effective way to do it. Like because then you remember it more fondly. And then you have the pussy on the chain wax, for example.
Yeah.
If you are American, and that phrase actually took off, please let us know, because I really don't feel like people were saying pussy on the chain wax, at least in my circles anyway.
Not in mine either.
So both of us have chosen our absolute two favorite sketches in Key and Peele. Obviously, there are way too many. Even the list we have, there are some that are missing. But if we only had to have two sketches, and then all of them disappeared, but we'll still talk about them, what were they? And I want us to discuss them. Do you want to do yours, mine, or do you want to do yours, mine?
Yours, mine.
Ooh, sounds like a Friday night, OT. Okay, so my favorite sketch is, it's not I actually don't know if it's a popular one or if it comes completely to your mind when you think about Key and Peele. I think the actual sketch is called Insult Comic. And this is where we have Keegan-Michael Key in like a Laugh Factory sort of manager scenario. And he's, he's getting the audience ready. He's getting them primed. He's making fun of them. We have our lovely fella that plays Richard Jewell. He's in there and he gets made fun of for being fat. There's a lady with some big ass titties, but next to the tig old biddies is Jordan Peele's character, and he's a burn victim. And the reason why I love this sketch so fucking much is because it really denotes to our egregious approach and our salaciousness for vulgar and inappropriate sort of humor. It's easy to laugh at someone that's fat. Hopefully that's not triggering, but it is the go-to, thing to make fun of, and it's okay to make fun of.
Yeah,
there was
the
also
lowbrow sort of humor.
Yeah, the lowbrow, definitely. And then there's also the guy that's there alone, and Keegan makes it a joke that, just like the date left him. So there are some things that, even though it can be hurtful, there are some things that people can joke about and it not be a problem. However, in Jordan Peele's character being a burn victim, it was quite clear that you weren't going to make fun of him. right? And I think one of the first jokes that Keegan makes is that he's wearing a pink shirt. Where did he get it from? queertshirts.com. And then and then Jordan like revealed it, and he actually had a ribbon, and it was for breast cancer
awareness.
And then he's like, but I am gay though. And he kept like pushing him. He's like, do it. I can handle it. I can handle it. And Keegan says something to the effect of, oh, I don't want to make fun of you. I don't want you to come and scare me in my dreams. And you know, it's like, I'm not a stand-up comedian as much as I try, but you know that once you get that joke, you just can't leave it alone. So even though the audience wasn't receptive to it, he kept going, and he's like, Freddy Krueger. Like, he kept pushing into the jokes, and then you have Jordan Peele's character start to cry, right? And he also put the device to his neck so you could hear him crying as well. Everyone is like completely booing. Keegan is like, how do you know he's even crying? And I love the way Jordan presses it against his throat, and he's like, I thought I could handle it, but I can't.
The tears, they burn.
I guess me saying that this is my most favorite sketch denotes to how I'm a shit person.
Yep.
But it's that salacious, forbidden sort of things that you're not supposed to find funny. And, in that sense, not to say that Keegan's character was provoked, but it's that whole sphere of comedy. What can be said, what can't be said, when is it okay, when is it not okay? And without a wankery podcast, they were able to capture that in that sketch. And that's why it's hands down my favorite Key and Peele sketch.
Fair enough. Wow. Yep, that was definitely a good one.
We're starting off strong.
For me, I think I went, of course, there are like really popular, hilarious ones out there, but for me, it always comes down to frame of reference.
Oh, if you'll pardon the reference.
And one of the things, I think my two are, the first one is hats.
Okay.
That's where Keegan buys a hat, and it has all the sort of stickers and the tags still on. And when I saw that, I think I knew exactly where that skit was going, because that was my fucking life growing up.
I didn't even understand it.
I laughed so hard. Yeah. And then we have Jordan coming back the next day, and he's not even removed the hat from the bag. Still has all the tags in the bag. It was bloody fucking hilarious. But Keegan wasn't going to be outdone. Came back the next day, had the display case over his head, with the hat still there, mid condition, only to see Jordan with I'm sorry. Only to have Jordan have a woman on top of his head sewing the fucking heart. You can't get any mint than that, can you?
And you do mention frame of reference, and that's very important because, like I mentioned earlier, there are some misses in sketch shows, and for me that was a miss because it completely went over my head. And when I eventually watched Key and Peele with you, you could not control yourself.
No, I couldn't.
And I actually still don't to this day. We even mentioned it. I forgot which podcast episode it was, but we mentioned this particular sketch and how much you love it. And again, it's something that I will never understand.
It was the thing, like kids would do that, and in our adolescent years when we didn't know any better, and kids would fucking do this, and it'll be the in thing. You have to stand out there, so you do that shit, which was pretty hilarious for me. I was like, oh. I just wanted to forward this clip to every one of my friends and tell them, hey, remember? Oh, good times.
You know what is also good times, OT?
Mm-hmm.
My top two sketch, and it is the cunnilingus class. Because male or female, you need to know how to go down on your bitches, right? And I absolutely love this sketch. And I definitely feel like, you know, there's some timely truths. Grab a peach and practice, friends and lovers. The part that I love the most about the sketch is when they're talking about, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, just go with the alphabet. A, B, C. I think that is
ASMR shit right there.
yeah.
you're
We
doing.
earned our explicit ASMR tag in this episode, and the Flap Factory.
Oh, wow.
Flaps are everywhere. I didn't care for the last part where it was secretly two women. I don't know. It kind of the whole part of the joke was just them in general, talking about how to care for women sexually, as Wendell would say. And I absolutely love it because, you know, a lot of the best parts of comedy is where it's clever, but it's also true in many senses. So I don't think Jordan and Keegan need any help in that department, to be perfectly honest.
True.
But I love it. They also had a follow-up sketch about what you don't know about women and their periods as well. Effective. I liked it. But the cunnilingus class is right where my daddy would sheriff heart is.
You know what the funniest thing is, though? To reference, you've watched Rome, right?
Yes.
And
I've watched Rome with you.
While you're watching it, it was my like third rewatch. So just to be
Vomit.
clear,
Yikes.
you had like Tatis Polo teach tell Lucius Farinus that, oh, you know, there's a butter in the woman when you start licking it or whatever. And then Lucius is like, oh, how do you know? Have you slept with my woman? And you had this sort of cute experience where Tadas Polo is teaching Farinus all this sort of shit, how to pleasure his wife, and it was so cute. So that's one of my favorite sort of cunnilingus moments on TV.
How dare you? But also, thank you.
You're welcome.
I never knew I could be out cunnilingus out.
Ah, keeping a record book.
Yikes.
All right. My second one, again, reference is key here. And it has to be
And Peele.
It has to be Mr. T. You have this Super 80s commercial, and then you have these kids making fun of each other's appearances. And then you have Mr. T popping out of nowhere saying,
Never make fun of another person's haircut. Actually, while we're on the topic, never make fun of another man's podcast.
True. So I picked this because growing up, I was the biggest Mr. T fan.
Is there an OT photo
There's an
floating
OT
around?
haircut with there's an OT Mr. T haircut out there.
That is a lot to promise considering no one knows what you look like.
But it was my thing. Forget A-Team. It was more TNT. TNT was my shit. So when you have, they're referencing my shit right here, and Key and Peele just took me to Nirvana, mate. But wow, like it was just one of those things that took me back to my childhood, and I was laughing my ass off. Because we had those like all those commercials of Mr. T as well, and oh my god, favorite thing in the world.
Did the action figures make it to Kenya?
Maybe they did. I'm not sure, but that did not stop OT from enjoying his Mr. T.
Maybe you were on the naughty list, not the nice list.
Probably.
You know, if you want to play How Old is Katie, this was kind of before my time. So
It doesn't matter. It was
no,
it
but
was
my
airing.
point is, like, I know who Mr. T is, but I don't get the splooshy, you know, you're not you when you're hungry sort of sensation, because I never grew up with Mr. T. He already grew up without me. So in this Key and Peele sketch, I appreciated the aesthetics. I was like, okay, I can recognize that this is Mr. T. But in this particular sketch, what I really enjoyed about it is it was working up to the joke, right? So you had these mini jokes about never make fun of a person's name or a person's clothes. And then you have the two kids being like, let's try drugs. Like,
nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, like, and I think they also said, let's try alcohol.
Let's drink all the alcohol.
Yeah. And I was like, well, your hair is dumb. And that's so it's all very self-serving. And then it becomes very sad.
Too sad.
It becomes very sad on layers that kids, fortunately, do not understand. But unfortunately, as adults, we've all kind of been there maybe one too many times
For sure.
in our lives. But those are our top two Key and Peele sketches. Feel free to let us know what your top two sketches are of Key and Peele. We're obviously going to be covering a lot more, but those are definitely our top two. Like I had a thought about it. It's not on the list, but I do want to just give a honorary mention to, I don't know what the sketch was called, but Jordan was playing like this old, like sort of martial artist. And Keegan was coming to him for intel, and he thought that he was coming out of retirement back from the force, and he kept urging, like, you know, shoot this bullet, I can catch the bullet. I think that's my sort of humor, just ridiculous nonsense. Also, another sketch that I don't have on this list here is Keegan's character. It's just a normal sort of modern setting with friends at Keegan's house, and he recently broke up with his girlfriend. And he got really upset, and he went to the other room, but he still had the Wii remote in his hand. So when he went to the bedroom, you could see everything, up to him picking up his ex-girlfriend's photo and him laying on the bed and waking off to it. I think it's just those sorts of sketches that really, really get my splooshies going.
Oh, and there's one that we usually reference quite a lot, at least maybe not in the podcast, but on our day-to-day sort of life.
We have a life outside of the podcast. I think you've broken the matrix, OT.
Pretty much, where you have Jordan having to jack off in a crime scene to solve a crime.
Yes, the detective.
Yeah.
How is this not on our list? There
No
you go.
idea.
I think I'm just so used to witnessing that. I forget it's a Key and Peele sketch and not our day-to-day life.
Oh, sorry about that.
So let's go through the list of sketches to discuss, to analyze, dissect, whatever you want to do, my love. We are going to start off with the most sexual of sketches. Pretty much all of Wendell Sanders' sketches.
Sexual and sad.
Isn't that our brand, OT?
Yeah.
Like, you can't achieve one without the other, my love. Wendell is first introduced to us when he's ordering a pizza. He falls in love with the idea of a figurine, but yes, it can be very easy, and Wendell definitely reminded me of the comic book guy. Worst podcast ever. He reminded me of that guy. And maybe even H. John Benjamin's character in Family Guy as well. It was very easy. It was a very easy sort of archetype to have. But they really rounded sorry, that's a very cheap pun. But they really rounded Wendell's character in that vulnerability. Because it always starts off very sexual, and then it gets to a point of realness.
Yep.
And we see that in the sketch where he's calling to report a broken Superman bed, and he's laying in the bed. And then progressively throughout the sketch with Keegan as like a telemarketer, he starts to talk about, oh, your son's 15 years old. He's a bit too old for the Superman, isn't he? Don't worry, when he starts talking to girls, he'll stop. It just, and then he named his son Stampy. Stampy. I'm very excited for the new reboot / remake of Ren and Stimpy.
I'm not.
That is my time. Ren and Stimpy, Angry Beavers, all of the weird fucking cartoons. That's me. That's where I am.
All that, and you never watched Care Bears. It invalidates everything,
Dude,
mate.
Care Bears was way before my time.
It doesn't matter.
So Care Bears is relevant to Key and Peele because one of the sketches, I think it's called Not to Laugh When Your Friend is Crying.
Yeah.
And it's like the head sort of gang leader and his friend died and he's talking about them as kids and being Care Bears.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, come on. Care Bears came out in like the early 80s.
It doesn't matter. These things were big in syndication for ages. It aired every single day.
Yeah.
Same with the Smurfs. Like, your childhood must have just been Ren and Stimpy. Come on now. Can't even compare.
They just look like little blue grandpas. Like, I don't see the appeal in Smurfs.
All right.
You keep your frame of reference out of mine, sir.
We'll do that.
And then Wendell obviously has that like mythical music video where he's like on a horse and he's got a sword as well. I fucking love Wendell. He is very precious. And to be perfectly honest, his lifestyle isn't much different than ours.
Nah.
If we didn't have our dog, we probably wouldn't leave the house, to be perfectly honest. Let's move on to another sketch, which is probably, even if you've never heard of Key and Peele, you've probably heard Aaron before.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Mr. Garvey as a substitute teacher.
Yeah. Like, that's one of the most popular ones, I think. It's hilarious. Did you ever have substitute teachers in your school?
Yes. And I was a shitbag to the substitute
Man, our teachers
teachers.
never got sick. They were there every single fucking day, mate.
Really? So, but the concept of substitute teachers exists.
I get it. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying in Kenya, did substitute teachers exist?
No, really. If the teacher isn't there, you just learn you learn maths. The math teacher was always there.
The math teacher was always there.
It'd be your favorite subject. You might be learning. You might be doing history. Or the history teacher isn't there, and then next minute, you get told, the history teacher's not coming today. You start celebrating, but that gets cut short pretty quickly when the math teacher just enters. Anytime there's no lesson, it's a math class.
Actually, this is a conspiracy because I feel like math teachers never went on leave.
Nah, it has to be something out
Like
there,
even
right?
one of my math teachers in high school, they had a baby and they came back like the next day. They took no maternity leave. So Mr. Garvey is probably the most popular Key and Peele sketch, I would say. You know, even people in the workplace that don't watch Key and Peele, they'll talk about Aaron,
Jay Kwale.
Jay Kwalin and Balake. Because it's like you hear the first joke and it's funny and then it continues to be funny, but obviously it doesn't hit hard as the first sort of instance of this or the cadence of it. And then you have Timothy. And I think it's in the first Mr. Garvey sketch where he gets really, really angry and he tells one of the kids to go to Oshak Hennessy's office. And that was just the cream on top of my pie. It was delightful. If we're talking about substitute teachers, I do want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Norstrand. So, it's playing off of that, teacher. Well, I guess it's the opposite. So Mr. Garvey came from like inner city kids that would pretty much chew you out if they smelt weakness, right?
Yeah.
So you have Mr. Norstrand coming into the classroom and he's writing his name and he's being really good about it, better than Cartman, when he was a substitute teacher in South Park. But, he's talking about how he doesn't take any shit. And then he drops his chalk and he farts. Because it's like, literally, you need to take your bag and leave. There is no coming back from that.
Like, I found it funny, but in my school, when a teacher farted, you would not even dare say anything. Giggle at your own peril.
What? I remember teachers farting though.
No, there were times that
Like
teachers
freely
would just fart.
or accidentally?
Accidentally, of course,
Okay.
but you'd just be there pretending, forcing yourself as if, didn't hear that, can't smell that. Nope, it's not happening.
I think there's more to your schooling we need to hear about, OT, but we'll leave that for another day.
It's part of instilling discipline, you know?
I don't discipline.
Discipline.
That's an Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt reference. I honestly don't remember. I can't recall teachers fighting in
Not
class.
once.
I feel like we thought that we could smell a fart, but I don't think that, no. And I'm not going to spend time going back to my school years to remember that. If I'm going to spend any time thinking about my school years, it'll be about me reading Pride and Prejudice.
Especially in those afternoon classes where people are just tired or bored to death. Oh, that was prime time, mate.
This is not this is not for your flatulence, OT.
It'd make a good episode.
I'll have to take a rain check on those recordings. Let's go to some more sketches. If anything, OT, my goal, maybe not an exact replica, but I want to capture the essence of the valets in Key and Peele. Because not just their energy, but their insights into film is very poignant, and it is an energy that is missing in the landscape of movie and TV podcasts.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you've watched Key and Peele, or I feel like this one is also a very popular one. Even if you've never watched Key and Peele before, you would have heard of Liam Neeson's from Tucken. Peter Dinkles, who plays Tywin Lannister. Bruce Willis, Michelle Pfeiffer, Timothy Elephant, and racist ass Melly Gibsons.
Racist ass Melly Gibsons.
I think that the interesting thing, because we watched this sketch just yesterday, and you were actually reflecting on racist ass Melly Gibson's filmography.
I grew up on a lot of racist ass Melly Gibson's movies, mate.
I think a lot of people did, yeah.
and I think you came at me when I said I preferred The Patriot to Braveheart. You know, I'll stick by that. Growing up, I watched The Patriot. I watched both of them. Patriot, Braveheart, multiple times. And I think The Patriot got me every single time to cry. And it hit the feels that I needed more than Braveheart.
Well, I don't even have a dog in this fight because I haven't watched The Patriot or Braveheart. I just didn't know. Hello, friends and lovers. We're breaking the 4th podcast right now. We do have a reference degustation that we recently just started, where we take you through a 4 or 5 course menu with a particular theme. I'm not sure if we have a degustation big enough to cover shit I haven't watched. But it'll be interesting to see how we can incorporate that. But a lot of the times you don't like rewatching stuff. So that's why a lot of the things we cover on the podcast are things that I've never watched before. Because you want to watch new shit.
Because I don't want to relive my past.
All right. Not really sure what you're doing there, but okay. The interesting thing was, I forgot what we were watching. We were watching something and you inadvertently became an OT valet. When you're like, oh, is that June Squibbses?
Yep, I remember that.
Well, obviously, it wasn't up for debate. It was a fact.
Well, I'm bad with names or the best of days, so just Squibsies sounded quite perfect to me.
But the Squibsies, though?
The Squibsies, though.
Keeping along the vein of like homages and references to movies, we have, I don't know what the exact sketch is called, but I will call it the Continental sketch. So we mentioned it even in our Get Out and Us episodes, but Jordan Peele is a big fan of horror, especially if you're not up to date with his filmography and his executive producings. He is a big fan of horror, and Key and Peele had quite a lot of homages to horror movies, including Saw, The Omen, which we mentioned in the Get Out episode, and this Continental breakfast sketch. There's also another, so this is alluding to The Shining, and there's also another sketch where all black people have The Shining. As well. But, you know, there are lots of instances and references to The Shining in particular in Jordan Peele's works. But let's talk a little bit about this continental breakfast sketch.
We have to do continental breakfast anytime we're at a hotel that offers up a buffet.
We do. I love fanfare, I must say. I do partake in the frivolity of fanfare, especially when we are on holiday. But we still carry our luggage because we're not dicks, right, OT? Maybe to each other, but not to others. But the continental breakfast sketch, it is delightful. It is wondrous. And you don't even need to know what the twist is at the end of the sketch because you're just enjoying the character.
Oh, for sure.
And how he's looking at the spoon and the fork. The fapoon. That sounds like a niche category on Pornhub or something, but there you go. And him eating the banana, very similar to Plebs as well. But yes, it is a great sketch. The way he cries because the food tastes so good. That is me binging every night. And I'll have what I'm having. Like this, there's so many gifts just in general that I use from Key and Peele. Obviously, people like to use the sweating with the Wi-Fi password of Jordan as well. But there are many delicious gifts that come out of the continental breakfast. And then obviously, you know, there's that spoiler alert at the end where, you know, he's been there the whole time. So he has this dandy little frolic through the continental breakfast every day. Which is very, very lovely.
You know, speaking of horror, I think one of the best ones as well was when there was an apocalypse, everyone had turned into a zombie, and then the zombies were racist. So the zombies were running from any black person on the street.
That's like the reverse. Instead of killing off the black character first, you're just letting them live.
Just let them live, you know?
It was funny because obviously you didn't know that at the start of the sketch and it was just survival, right?
Yeah.
And then when Jordan and Keegan's character are trying to run through the group, you know, they're trying to run through this group of zombies. No one's running at them, and it isn't after a few steps they realize no one's running after them. And Jordan like puts his arm up to like a lady zombie, just like moving away.
Oh, there was a zombie couple in the car, and
He's trying to lock the door.
and the window's open. Oh dear, he gotta love this.
Yeah, that's like Lovecraft Country is currently airing at the moment, and we're really enjoying it. But that also has like supernatural elements, you know, to themes of racism. But this is done in a more fun way, in a way that's not too piercing or analytical. It's just hilarious. And I think at the end of that sketch as well, there's like a white zombie man trying to climb over the fence.
When they're having a barbecue.
Oh my goodness. And again, when they do it well, when the sketches hit, they hit. Right? Speaking of sketches hitting in all of the right places, I want to talk about Georgina and Esther and Satan.
Ooh, that's one of the best.
One of the best, but unfortunately, whenever I try and look it up on Giphy, because surprisingly, I want to use that GIF more often than I should. Maybe that's a way of Giphy of censoring me. But I really, really like this sketch. And you know, whatever frame of reference that you have, if you've had like a religious upbringing and you have aunties or grandmothers that were very devout but also very judgy with their devoutness, you could definitely,
they come all in that flavor.
Oh, yeah. the most fiery of flavors. We have Georgina and Esther, and it's hilarious because it's the language that they use, right? How they just talk about, oh, you know, Satan's got his claws in my nephew, but I'm going to strangle Satan with my prayers.
With the prayers.
And it escalates. Like, this sketch escalates to the point of Jordan Peele's character threatening to flirt with the devil, twerk on the devil, ride him real good, left, right, and snap it out. And you know what? When we were rewatching this in preparation for the episode, we watched the episode that was censored. So it was making the really loud bleeps. And I feel like that makes it sound more offensive. Like,
It did.
I was literally clutching my non-existent pearls. And I was closing my non-existent robe.
Oh.
It was very uncouth.
Oh, wow.
And even further on in that sketch, she literally takes on the devil.
Yeah, they get possessed. And the devil can't understand what the hell is happening with these
She was
women.
like, this feels good. Why would you do this?
What did they call it? The Kegel of...
The divine Kegel.
The divine Kegel.
I'll do some research to see if I can put that in the description without it getting flagged. And also the pornography of women as well. And again, frame of reference is it really bolsters an already funny sketch.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any sort of judgmental older like female figures in their family, I'm sure they can relate to the snootiness and the judginess of it all. Unfortunately, we have to deal with the visual of them riding Satan, but that is like South Park Satan devil level as well. A really fun one that we also have referenced quite a lot on our podcast is Carlito.
Hey.
And the him being a proud thug.
Proud thug, man. I think that's the first sketch he showed me of theirs that really brought your case to the table of actually me sitting through the whole 5 seasons of Key and Peele. Because I had never watched anything like as hilarious as that. It was fucking mind-blowing. So you have Jordan as Carlito, you know, they're having a meeting, he gets into the room, but then all the seats are taken. Everyone sits down and there's no chair, so what do you do? You stand next to the table. And it's super awkward there.
Yeah.
And then you have Keegan off telling Jordan, why? We'll just get you a chair. Get the chair. Get the man a chair. And they bring the chair back. Nah, it's too proud. That ship has sailed. Nah, I'm all right. I'll just stand here. He falls on the table and gets shanked.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite parts of the sketches, because he's got this vibrato about him, and even until death, he holds that up as well. And you have Keegan's character being like, Carlito, go back into your body, man. And he's like, nah, my body is stupid, Holmes. And they're telling him to go into the light, and he's like, nah, heaven is for pussies.
Was pussies.
It's effective. It's stupid. I wouldn't say it is on their most clever, but it's fucking effective, man.
Yeah, and we get to see the guy from the twins from Breaking Bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're doing this. You brought Breaking Bad up last week, and now you're bringing it up again.
It's not my fault that they had characters that are there here.
Nice try, O.T. Heisenberg.
For sure. You know I'm the one who knocks.
Wow, nice. On that ass. Very nice. Speaking
knocks
of
on that ass, we need to make a song. We need to write a song.
Speaking of that ass, let's talk about the slap ass sketch with Rafi. Well, OT, you've talked about playing sports in school. This sketch, the premise of it is essentially, all the bros, super bros, but they still slap each other's asses and it's not weird. That premise gets challenged because Rafi loves to slap ass. In one of the jokes that Keegan says, it's the baseball league. We're all Dominican Republic. But he also says, none of us have ever heard of slap ass before.
My child asks me, why does this man keep on touching my ass?
It's just You know what? Like, as much as they are a duo, I fucking love Jordan Peele. I've noticed that a lot of my favorite characters are him. And I think just the way that he plays it, him playing Raffi is so ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know. I've just seen this sort of spanking a lot in American sort of sports and shit. We never, I at least in my time, don't really ever touch our asses in whatever form of camaraderie.
Well, the interesting thing is when you say it, it sounds very kinky. Even in the Key and Peele sketch, it seemed like innocent slap ass, but the way you're saying it sounds very kinky. How about in the Premier League? Or the Americans will call it soccer.
Well, I could see, I see coaches spanking the guys when they're being substituted and shit.
Slap ass. Don't say spank ass. That's why.
Oh, so there's a difference. Spank and slap.
Okay, friends and lovers, we try not to mention too much, the pandemic that's going on right now, but I just need to mention it here. I think OT's been alone with me at home for too long. It's slap ass, not spank ass. That's where the kinkiness is coming from.
I don't know. OT's a lover, mate.
Oh, but yeah, that slap ass sketch is hilarious. One of my other favorite sketches that I really, really enjoyed, I think it's just called A Gay Wedding. And we have Jordan Peele's character bringing in a colleague from his work.
Yeah.
Because he's a member of the homosexual community, I think was the actual phrase for it. Because someone in their family is gay and is going to have a gay wedding. So the whole idea that they would bring a gay person so they can ask questions about a gay wedding is so offensive on many levels, and I think that's what also makes it very funny as well. Amongst the family members, there's quite a lot of familiar faces. The most lovable that I will mention is Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
He had probably the best lines in this scene as well.
And then the way he even delivered it.
Because it was little jokes that led up to the big joke of, when are we going to sing Over the Rainbow? Because it's a religious ceremony. I think the other one was YMCA. Yeah. And it was working up to the big joke of gay hymns at a gay wedding as well. This sketch is great because, even though I don't have that specific frame of reference, I do have family members that are way too ignorant than I would care to admit. They just say things that are only for home talk and not outside world talk, and you hope that other people outside of your family don't hear what they're about to say.
Yeah, the people, if they had Google Homes, then everyone's just listening in Google offices, laughing their asses off.
As if they're not doing that to us already.
Yeah, it's part of their life, mate.
But I do like to tell our smart homes that they're stupid bitches, just so they know who the top bitch is in this house. There's too many bitches' voices in this house, can I just say? But and I think that's what I took from it. It's not funny because it's a gay wedding. It's funny because everyone has these sorts of family members that would say stupid shit like this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's also the family member that doesn't even give eye contact to Keegan's character. He also had some very good lines as well, asking where do they get the euro to buy the gay gifts.
Like some things you wonder what the fuck you get that from.
Yeah. But it's just absolutely ridiculous, and it's like, we're not gay, so which section do we sit in? Do we sit in the straight section? Yeah. As well.
Or since we can't throw rice, would we throw couscous?
And then we also have one of the best lines that we reference even to this day is, will we be too far to see the pony show?
Wow.
Just wow. There's so much about Key and Peele that's it's timely, and it's also rooted in, love and also experience as well. So, Front seats to the pony show every day in this household.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of every day in this household, just one of the minor sort of sketches or sketches that I don't think gets a lot of attention is the tackle and grapple. Did you ever do any sort of martial arts as a kid?
No, I was too scared of breaking my neck.
Fair enough. Busta Rhymes style or just the normal garden variety?
Just the normal garden variety.
Again, it's very 80s inspired. It's ridiculous, and that's what makes it funny. It's very effective. You know, even when he talks about, like, there's this one guy, and then they talk about having super master classes, and then the guy disappears because it's not offered to him. It's only offered to the ladies.
Yep.
As well. It's just funny. It's funny and it's timely, and it definitely still stands up all of these years from now.
Mm-hmm.
We also have LaShawn and Samuel. The first time we're introduced to them is when same-sex marriage is legalized in a particular state.
Yep.
And you have Samuel, who's a bit more reserved, maybe didn't necessarily believe that the law would be passed in their particular state, not even thinking about marriage. And then you have LaShawn talking about renting the moon and filling it up with rosé.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because the bill was passed doesn't mean the guy is ready to get married.
Yeah, I think he just used an excuse the whole time. He's like, I don't think it's fair for us to get married while other people can't get married.
When the bill got passed, he was like, yeah. He snuck out of the office quite quickly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know, OT, that Key and Peele, one of the working titles that were being considered was beige?
Beige.
This was due to them being biracial, but they decided that the title was too silly.
Beige.
Beige. Not even eggshell off-white beige, just beige.
Yikes.
Yeah, so I'm glad they chose not to go down that route. But there'll also be other decisions that they went down, like Keanu, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I have read some reviews on Keanu though, and people were saying that it's more like it's more satirized as opposed to it trying to be taken seriously.
Yeah, it
so
doesn't
I'm not
matter.
sure
It's
if
still
we need.
crap.
But Method Man is in it, so I feel like I need to give
Method
it a
Man
nod.
is in everything. It's crap.
And it is most welcome. How dare you?
We like Method Man, but him and Keanu does not save it.
Okay, methodless man.
You can have cheese all you want. It's not gonna save it.
Oh, The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
Go and check out The Wire. We have over 3.5 hours of podcast content for you friends and lovers. Speaking of content, the director, Peter Atencio, was planning to quit before the second season because apparently Comedy Central wanted the audience reactions to be a part of the sketches.
Really?
So the sketches would have already been filmed, right? And they were going to play the sketches, and they wanted to include that laughter from the audience when it airs.
Ew.
Disgusting, right?
Yeah.
So he resisted, and ultimately the network changed their mind, but that's super cheap.
Yeah.
And personally, I can't deal with shows that have a laugh track. Like, if it was back in the day and I was watching it, yeah, no dramas, no worries. But as soon as Arrested Development, I would say Arrested Development is kind of the new wave of, you know, that smart, sharp sort of comedy that didn't have a laugh track. You know, since Arrested Development came along, I never looked back. Even though there were shows, even shows up until today that continue with a laugh track, I just can't fucking deal with it. It's too cheesy to me.
I think they have a place, and I don't mind watching shows with a laugh track.
So
like
in 2020, do you mean like back in the shows you can still enjoy it if it has a laugh track, or you're saying even now a show in 2020?
Even now, like it's all nostalgic, and there's sometimes you just wanna, and you know those kind of shows, you know exactly what you're gonna get. So I am for the ad libs, the actors getting the energy from the from the audience. It's fun and cute, and I'm not gonna sit here and hate it because I grew up watching a lot of those. And
Well, I'm gonna hate it. Don't tell me when to laugh.
It's not telling you when to laugh, is it though?
But if it's funny, I'll fucking laugh. I don't need your laughing in my ear.
Fair enough. To each their own.
Actually, I will take it if it's that ostrich and Family Guy. Then if that's the laugh track, then I'll take it. Otherwise,
Noted.
I rebuke you in the name of For Your Reference.
Okay.
I think we've covered a good range, OT.
Mm-hmm.
I do just want to mention one more sketch, and it's a really baby mention. Jordan's character goes into a mattress store and is looking for the most comfortable mattress. And, you know, mattress shopping can be very exciting, but it can also be very intimidating because, you know, it's a whole industry and, you know, there's so many different materials, there's strings, there's bondage, if you're welcome, there's bondage. There's so many details that go into mattresses. So you have Jordan's character trying to navigate what the best mattress is. And, you know, all of us have qualifiers. We might lay on the bed. We might, you know, spring the cushions and see how it works. Mm-hmm. And when OT is not touching my ass, he's testing the mattress. But the way that Jordan's character in this sketch evaluates whether it's a good mattress or not, he starts bouncing on it and goes, "Who got that good tea? Who got that good tea? Who got that good tea?" And that alone is hilarious. Again, you need to have multiple laughs in a sketch. And he says, "Who got that good tea? Who got that good tea?" And then you see later on in the sketch that it's not actually him that has got that good tea, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much it, friends and lovers.
Yeah.
Well, there we go, friends and lovers. Thank you to the prototype of sketch reviews on the For Your Reference podcast. We take kindly to your kind around here. We are going to finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference. OT.
I'm going to reference The Chappelle Show.
Nice.
It sort of set the foundation for what Key and Peele are doing and a lot of other people. Mm-hmm. And the second one will be Astronomy Club on Netflix.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. It has a really cute episode on there where they're talking about childhood trauma. You know how
childhood trauma is very cute.
How we reminisce about how the good old days, how we were beaten, but we don't realize the effects of it now.
Oh, absolutely.
It was done very neatly and cleverly, and I loved that. Was one of the best I've seen.
I really like that too, because it really seeps into your own psyche and, you know, demons that you haven't battled within
for sure
yourself. You just laugh at how funny your beatings were and you're like, oh shit, that fucked me up.
Yep.
maybe not to the level of not being able to sleep in your bed again, but like,
it messed you up in a way.
It definitely, in all the ways. I will reference a Black Lady sketch show. One very delicious season, executive produced, also starring in some cases Issa Rae and Robin Thede, and it is most welcome, and we can't wait to see another season of it. If you aren't aware, we also announced that we're going to do a Halloween special episode, OT. So if you want to see more details on that, check out our Twitter and Instagram For Your F Pod.
You can write us an email at hello@fypodcast.com.
If you have any sketch ideas, you can also send the email there as well. We're also on Apple Podcasts, so if you would be so kind, we would love if you could leave us a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Sexual.